Sharks are creatures that capture our imaginations. They are incredible, practically prehistoric apex predators with rows filled with fearsome teeth. And yet we know that they are not the mindless killing machines that some people believe them to be. We will show you sometimes sharks and humans got just a little too close for comfort. Well, the comfort of a human. Before we dive in, be sure to hit the subscribe button and click the gray bell to join our notification squad. Just saying hi. Independent filmmaker Skylar Thomas is a man who is truly passionate about filming sharks, so much so that he started a company known as White Shark Video, which seeks to educate people about these incredible creatures. When he first began diving, Thomas was absolutely enraptured by the beauty of these creatures and wanted to share them with the world. On one particular dive in Guadalupe, Mexico, Thomas stayed safe in a supposedly shark-proof cage, while the surrounding waters were littered with chum and fish heads. As the sharks became comfortable with the film crew, one of them just couldn't contain his curiosity and decided to pop its head over the top of the cage. Thomas claims that he doesn't believe the shark was acting aggressively and instead just wanted to take a peek at what was going on. It was a little too close to comfort for one filmmaker who can be seen backing hurriedly away, but another managed to capture the incident on camera. Despite his many shark encounters, this one stands out for Thomas, as it's rare that sharks have much interest in humans while there is delicious chum swirling in the waters. Deep blue. Coming face-to-face with a great white shark in the ocean can be a terrifying experience, even if you're inside a shark cage. But this shark off the coast of Mexico is more than just any great white. It's officially the largest great white we know of. Named Deep Blue, this female shark is 20 feet long and positively dwarfs the human divers who spotted her. She seemed calm and serene, gliding through the ocean as she inquisitively circled the cage divers. Of course, as most of us know, sharks tend to investigate things with their mouths, and Deep Blue did try to take a tentative bite out of the cage just to make sure it wasn't secretly delicious. This meant that the divers got an up-close look right into the jaws of this massive shark, and they were close enough to see every last tooth in her gaping maw. One particularly brave or foolish soul even reached out to give her a high five before she swam away into the deep. If you thought that Deep Blue was looking a little less than svelte, that's because she was pregnant when she made her appearance in the video. That means there could be not-so-little Deep Blues out there somewhere. Love watching our videos but looking for a more ad-free browsing experience? Take your video viewing to the next level and sign up for the Premium Network. You'll get the first peek at the newest content from not only the richest, but Screen Rant, The Taco, The Sportster, The Things, and many more. Thousands of your favorite videos in one place is a no-brainer. Click here to be the first in line for the premium. Crash. Most human and shark encounters aren't particularly eventful. For the human, it can be a once-in-a-lifetime experience of great significance, but for the shark, it's just a strange encounter with an even stranger creature. Unless they're trying to catch something to eat, most sharks travel rather slowly and approach humans rather tentatively. If you were so impressed by the sharks we have seen so far that you considered swimming without a cage, you might just want to rethink that after you see this video. Divers in Gansbaai, South Africa got quite the shock when they encountered one great white. Jeremy Stewart was visiting the area from his home in Canada and decided to take a dive in the aptly named Shark Alley. He and a group of other tourists watched as a great white shark lunged to catch a piece of bait and ended up slamming into their cage with an incredible amount of force. Stewart managed to capture the moment on video and admits that he was startled by the sudden collision of the shark and the cage. Selfie. When you go on a ride at an amusement park or a carnival, there is usually an attendant who warns you to keep all of your appendages safely inside the ride. But in the vastness of the ocean, there's nobody to give you that helpful warning. It seems like there is nothing some people won't do to get the most perfect selfie possible, and for one photographer, that includes putting himself in the path of a great white shark. Dutch conservation photographer Peter Verhoog spotted this amazing specimen off the coast of Guadalupe, Mexico. Not content to merely get some snaps within his shark cage, he ventured out of it to get the perfect shot with a great white. Verhoog, who is also the director of the Dutch Shark Society, claims that photos and footage of sharks is important for conservation efforts because it lets people know that they have nothing to fear from sharks in most cases. While we know that most shark bites are nothing more than a case of mistaken identity when the shark confuses a human for food, that's still one big bite. We think we'll stick to selfies taken inside of the shark cage. A bigger boat. Speaking of big bites, here's a perfect example of why we would like to remain safely in a cage or in a boat if there is a great white in the water. When we watch Jaws chomping on a boat on the big screen, most of us comforted ourselves with the fact that great whites don't really try to eat boats, right? Well, tell that to this group of people off the coast of South Africa. We are guessing it'll be a while before they think it's safe to go back in the water. They were on a tour looking for seals but got way more than they bargained for. This 12-foot-long female shark was certainly curious about this boat as she began biting it over and over again. She managed to tear chunks out of the rubber, which caused part of the boat to deflate, much to the horror of those on board. Although the boat and everyone on it survived, the great white caused over $3,000 in damage to the boat. The tour organizer, Rainer Schimpf, believes that the shark mistook the boat for the body of a deceased whale, and that's why it was so intent on tearing chunks off of it. Perhaps the most famous fake shark footage of all time is from the movie Jaws. What did the cast of the film call the massive fake shark behind the scenes, and where do they get the name from? Keep watching for the answer. Breaching. It may look beautiful when whales or dolphins breach, but there is something terrifying about seeing a great white shark do the same. It's predatory behavior, since great whites prefer to sneak up on their prey from underneath and slam into them at full force. They usually feed right under the surface of the water, but this shark made a special appearance in the air. Cinematographer Elke Specker went on a trip to Guadalupe, Mexico, and visited the breeding ground of the fearsome great white. Getting the perfect shot isn't always easy, and she claimed that she spent about 6 hours in the shark cage per day for 3 days before she captured this moment. The 15-foot-long, 3,500-pound male shark leapt out of the water right in front of cameras. This was Specker's first time confronted with great whites, and she admits that she finds them intimidating. Although they may send a shiver of fear down her spine, she also notes that humans are far more dangerous to them than they are to us. Seal the deal. Of course, that's not the only awesome footage we have of a shark leaping above the water, and this shark got even more air than the last. This footage was filmed off the coast of South Africa and was shot by filmmakers Mark Van Collar and Mornay Hardenberg. Instead of waiting around for the perfect shot, these two engaged in a bit of trickery in order to get the footage they wanted. That seal that you see the shark chomping down on, it's merely a decoy made out of foam rubber. It was dragged behind the boat in order to entice hungry sharks into making an appearance. While it may seem like an unkind trick to play on the shark, it did result in some incredible footage. The two cinematographers set up to film just before and after sunrise, since that is when sharks do most of their hunting. Since the water is still dark, this makes it difficult for real seals to spot predators, thus giving the shark an advantage. Even using trickery, getting the shot just right is difficult and requires constant attention. It's generally over so fast that if you aren't already poised to shoot, you could easily mess the entire spectacle. Shark versus shark. What's worse than one great white shark? Two great white sharks, apparently. If just one of these fearsome predators wasn't enough to scare you, here we see two locked in combat. Great white sharks are supposed to be apex predators, which means that they aren't considered prey for other animals. Well, apparently these two didn't get the memo about that, since they seemed really intent on taking a chunk out of each other. This intense battle between these two creatures was captured on camera by Adam Malski, who was out in the waters off the coast of Australia. The larger shark is known as Gilbert, which is a pretty great name for a nearly 16-foot-long shark. The smaller, unnamed shark seemed to get the short end of the stick during this clash of the titans. While Gilbert has been seen since the spat, the smaller shark has not. We are just going to tell ourselves that he found a new place to live, far away from larger sharks who might try to take a bite out of him. Godspeed, slightly smaller great white shark. We hope to see you again someday. Salmon fishing. Two fishermen discovered that they weren't the only ones with a taste for fish one day while out on a boat. David Locke and his father Andy Locke decided to spend a day fishing together one autumn afternoon. They set off near the coast of Fremantle near Perth and had some luck catching salmon. Some salmon were dangling off the end of their fishing line, which, as you may have realized by now, is how people purposefully bait great white sharks. The Locks got quite the surprise when a 16-foot-long shark began following their boat, intent on taking their catch for itself. Luckily, David had his camera out to record Andy's triumphant salmon catch and was able to get the entire incident on tape. Andy was determined not to let the shark get away with stealing his hard-won catch, and he tried to reel the fish in as quickly as possible. Desperate when he saw his food being taken away, the shark lunged for it and ended up colliding rather forcefully with the boat. Thankfully, this particular shark didn't seem like it was trying to eat the boat and casually swam off to parts unknown. Whale of a time. Recently, scientists have discovered that great white sharks are more likely to feed on whale carcasses than they once thought. Now, for most of us, a feeding frenzy of sharks is something we would want to stay well away from, but not this film crew. They were determined to get up close and personal during feeding time and even jumped into the water to get a better look at the action. A local fisherman reported a whale carcass off the coast of Scottsburg, South Africa, and many people went out to take a look. Among them was diver Emil Piersenthal, who noticed that the other spectators seemed to be sticking to their boats rather than jumping in. He decided to take the plunge, and immediately a shark tried to bite him on the leg. Once a great white arrived on the scene, the smaller sharks scattered, not wanting to get in the way that Piersenthal almost did. The cloudiness of the water made it difficult to see far in front of him, so he had to get perilously close in order to capture his mind-blowing footage. He estimates that he saw 2 great whites, 20 tiger sharks, 15 bull sharks, and a smattering of oceanic blacktip sharks. Even after almost getting bitten, Piersenthal was concerned that the carcass seemed to be drifting into an area known to have shark nets. He carefully got a rope around the whale's tail and towed it out to sea with his boat so that the sharks could feed safely. A pretty normal name for such an incredible creature, this movie monster was known as Bruce behind the scenes. The real-life Bruce was Steven Spielberg's lawyer, Bruce Raymer. Would you be brave enough to swim in the water with a shark? If so, would you demand to be behind metal bars, or would you risk it swimming in open water? Try not to think of this video when you head to the ocean this summer, or you might end up sitting in the sand. Thanks for watching The Richest, and we'll see you next time.